Hey guys, this is Kneon, this is CLOWNFISH TV, and we're going to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog at the box office. You know, we haven't talked about Sonic in a couple days. We knew it was doing really well. We knew it had a really good opening weekend because of the fans. The fans turned out for Sonic the Hedgehog, and it broke some records for biggest opening for a video game movie. It did really well for a February movie, and people seem genuinely happy with the movie for the most part, right? But it's actually doing much better than we expected. This is kind of crazy, and we're going to talk about that in this episode of CLOWNFISH TV. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We're at almost 100,000 subs, guys. We're almost there. About 4,000 away. You guys have been incredible. Most of that growth has actually been over the last 6 months or so. So thank you very much for that. We really, really appreciate the support. All right, so I have to walk back something I said in a couple videos ago about Sonic the Hedgehog. I said that I thought it was going to be beaten by Call of the Wild. You know, that Harrison Ford movie with the CGI dog. It actually did pretty good, but not as good as Sonic. I thought Call of the Wild, most people thought Call of the Wild was going to be the biggest box office earner that weekend, and Sonic the Hedgehog actually beat Call of the Wild out by a couple $1 million. You know, then we get down to number so we have Sonic at number 1 at 26 million. We have Call of the Wild at number 2 at 24 million, and then Birds of Prey is only at $6 million. That's not good. That's not that good. Not for what, the third week. Yeah, not a good look. Total gross for Birds of Prey, 72 million. Sonic in 2 weeks, 106 million. But the news gets better and better. Sonic the Hedgehog passes the $200 million mark at the global box office. Here's the thing. Sonic the Hedgehog hasn't been released in a lot of countries yet. It hasn't been released in Japan. It hasn't been released in Japan, where it'll probably do really well, considering Sonic originated from Japan. Obviously hasn't been released in China yet either. There are a lot of markets that Sonic has not been released into, and it's already over $200 million globally. Nobody could have predicted this. Especially 6 months ago, 8 months ago, when they had that god-awful original trailer. People would have been like, hell no. Hell no. And I think what's going on here, Sonic is benefiting from, I don't know if we're going to call it the Joker effect or what, but when the media tells you not to support something, you know, and they tell you not to support something, and the studios actually listen and tell the media to go piss off, fans turn out and they support it. Sonic the Hedgehog, like Joker, is really about sending a message that, you know, the fans want the entertainment they want. They want their characters to be recognizable. They don't want the studios and the publishers and the game developers to kowtow to the media that doesn't represent most of us. Okay, the media is very, they definitely, a lot of the writers in the media, I mean, look at this crap from the BBC. I keep bringing this article up because this is one of the most anti-fan articles I've ever read, and I'm still shocked it's on the BBC. I mean, we've seen hit pieces on gamers on the New York Times and other outlets, but the BBC is basically like, don't listen to the fans. They're entitled and they're awful. Don't listen to the fans. Coming from the freaking BBC, used to be a reputable news outlet. Used to be, I thought, you know, pretty middle of the road, pretty factual. I used to actually go to the BBC for world news. I would skip some of the American outlets because I'm like, well, the BBC is outside of it all. They're going to have a better perspective on maybe what's going on than some of the news outlets here in the States do. And they write garbage like this on their website. Just absolutely disgusting. Yeah, so despite that, Sonic the Hedgehog is actually doing really well. And a lot of, you know, the pop culture media outlets are shrieking now because they're like, oh my God, if they listen to the fans on Alita and Joker and Sonic, that means that we don't have the stranglehold anymore. And I think what's been going on is a lot of these studios have been listening to these media outlets and listening to Twitter and listening to Tumblr, much to their detriment, because they wind up creating entertainment that appeals to a very small percentage of people. We're talking very, like we're talking Portland. Basically, they're creating pop culture for Portland. And Portland is not indicative of the rest of the world, right? So I think with Sonic, though, I think universally, universally, that design was hated. I know Sonic even has a lot of fans in Portland, and a lot of people hated the original design, but it sets a precedent that if the studios listen to the fans, they make money. And at the end of the day, especially with so many of these studios being in debt, they need the money. So what's going to happen with a lot of these studios, I think, is they're going to start chasing the fandom. And I hope that that's what happens, that they actually, you know, at least with existing properties, that they actually keep the characters in character, that they don't do anything crazy with them like they did with The Last Jedi, where they ruined Luke Skywalker forever, you know? Or they take so many liberties with a franchise that no longer resembles itself anymore. You know, we see this happening a lot too. It's not edgy, it's not funny. It doesn't win people over. It actually alienates longtime fans. If you want to make something different, create a new franchise. But we know that's hard because you have to build it from the ground up. And a lot of these people don't like to build things from the ground up, or they can't build things from the ground up. They can only rent. They can't actually build a house themselves. That's what's going on here. So let's read about Sonic. Sonic the Hedgehog passes 200 million at the global box office. Sonic the Hedgehog live-action movie continues its box office success, hitting another milestone by crossing 200 million globally. This is coming from Screen Rant. Sonic the Hedgehog has officially crossed the $200 million mark at the global box office. Produced by Paramount and Sega, the film had its initial US release on Valentine's Day weekend. We were there opening night, and it was pretty full for a 5 o'clock showing. Sonic the Hedgehog beat box office expectations and had an impressive $58 million 3-day run, edging out Detective Pikachu to become the biggest opener for a video game film ever. This is even more impressive considering initial criticisms of the movie that the movie faced before its debut. When Sonic the Hedgehog first dropped online, the trailer dropped online, it faced significant backlash from fans who were critical of the accuracy of the titular character's CGI design. People claimed it didn't stay true to the Sonic character. You know, people claimed Luke Skywalker didn't stay true to the Luke Skywalker trailer, but Disney plowed ahead anyway. And look what happened to Star Wars. So unprecedented move. It was an unprecedented move that Jeff Fowler decided to do a complete redesign of Sonic, which audiences seemed much more receptive towards. Obviously, they went to go see this movie. This movie would have been a box office disaster if Jeff Fowler had not made the right decision and decided to withhold the movie until they could get it right. And more studios need to do this. They need to do this. I mean, part of the problem, I think, with the Star Wars sequel trilogy, I mean, this is apples and oranges, but it really isn't, is that Disney plowed ahead with release dates for these movies without thinking the movies through. You know, there was a reason, even George Lucas, with a singular vision, spaced the movies out 3 years apart. You know, Disney would have benefited by having a plan and spacing the movies out more, and they didn't do it. All they could see were dollar signs. You know, what happened was they actually made less money than they would have if they had produced 3 really good movies that were fan pleasers, that got things off on the right foot with Star Wars. And instead, they ground the franchise into the ground in like 5 short years. You know, one mistake after another. And then they announced that High Republic thing yesterday. That's going to alienate even more fans. So Disney is like the anti-Sonic at this point. And now we know Bob Iger's out the door, so maybe there's something going on behind closed doors. Maybe people on the board are looking at Iger and looking at Star Wars and looking at some of the other decisions that Disney has made, and they're like, you know, long term, like we gotta pull out of this tailspin. We got a lot of debt. You know, Star Wars is still in debt with Galaxy's Edge. I think that was his call to make it sequel trilogy, as I understand it. You know, it was on his watch that they basically took Star Wars and what should have been the most popular evergreen franchise on the planet and ground it into a shadow of its former self within a couple of years. Now, Disney's still making money, obviously. They're still making lots of money, but they also racked up a lot of debt to buy things like Star Wars, and it's debatable as to whether or not Star Wars has even paid for itself at this point. Who knows? So regardless of how the Sonic character's animation turned out at the end, Sega Sammy Holdings is reporting the film's box office has just hit under the $210 million mark worldwide. This happened within 10 days. The US box office is 107 million, the international box office is 102. It's more good news for Sonic, still waiting to be released in several markets such as Japan. It has not been released in Japan or China, and I think Sonic's going to do really well in Japan. It's not going to hit Japan until March 27th. This must be very welcome news to the cast and crew, especially after yesterday's news that the Chinese release would be delayed due to CV. I can't even talk about it. I can't even talk about it on YouTube without getting demonetized. I'm serious. Like, if you even mention this thing right here by name, they will demonetize you on YouTube. It was initially set to come out on February 28th. So yeah, I mean, and China is going to be a huge market, I think, for a movie like this. A fun popcorn flick. Sonic is a worldwide beloved icon all over the world, you know, and they got it right. They got it right. Sonic the Hedgehog's box office tally thus far may come as a surprise to many who thought the negative fan reactions to the first trailer were the nail in the coffin for the movie's chances. The studio, however, took the criticism of the fans to heart to make a product that stayed true to the character's original form. More movie studios need to do this. More game developers need to do this. More comic book publishers need to do this. There is money to be made, guys. There's money to be made if you make the existing fandom happy. You know, the fans that have carried your franchise for decades, you don't piss them off. You don't tell them that they're horrible people. You don't tell them that they're sexist and misogynists and alt-right Yahtzees. You know, I mean, have you learned nothing? Have you learned nothing? No, they haven't, because we keep seeing companies double down on stupid decisions to alienate existing fan bases. There's a reason you have that fan base. Fans came to expect a certain kind of product, you know, and a certain kind of treatment. And when you piss them off, they go someplace else. You know, they're going to go to Sonic the Hedgehog instead of your movie because you actually listened. And this is what's going on. And they can't understand it. They don't understand it. They don't understand that they're actually the very, very vocal minority, right? The media and some of the people installed at these entertainment companies, they're actually the vocal minority. It's not the fans. The fans are actually the majority of customers. And they don't get this. And they're going to have to learn a few painful lessons. And they are learning a few painful lessons. We're seeing a lot of franchises decline. I mean, franchises that have been around for decades, through various incarnations, but they always, you know, kind of, you know, stayed the course and kept the fans in their line of sight. And it's only been the last 4 or 5 years that a lot of these studios and publishers and game developers have decided to give the finger to the fandom, and they've paid for it financially time and time again. And I think that pendulum's swinging back, because you can't just cause a company to go broke by making bad decisions. You also have to reward companies that make the right decisions. And we're seeing that with Alita. We're seeing it with Joker, especially. Joker was a big one, because Joker, not only, you know, the movie was good, but it was also, they were setting it up to fail months before it came out. The media was attacking the movie, and people went to go see it 2 or 3 times just to tell the media to go take a hike. Same with Sonic. You know, again, shocked that the BBC is dragging Sonic the Hedgehog into this fan entitlement article. These people need to go away. These bloggers, these anti-fan bloggers, these anti-fan journalists need to go away. As far as I'm concerned, the majority of them, now I can't speak to this guy individually, I don't know him, but the tone of these articles have changed. If you look at fan sites 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they were by fans for fans. And now a good majority of these sites, these game sites, even, you know, op-ed pieces in the Times, they're anti-fan. They're anti-fandom. You know, these people don't speak for us. They don't. They're not one of us. I don't think they ever were. I think they snuck into the fandom. I don't know how they got into the fandom, but they got into the fandom with the sole purpose of telling everybody what was wrong, what's wrong with the fandom. It's like the joke people have about, you know, women that date guys that want to change everything. It's like, oh, I love this guy. He just needs to change everything. And that's what a lot of these fake fans turned journalists are doing. They're sneaking into the fandom. They're installing themselves into the fandom. They're installing themselves into publishing operations. They're installing themselves in at game studios and Hollywood studios with the sole purpose of changing things. That's our goal. It's not to celebrate fandom. It's not to be an active part of fan culture. It's to be a school marm and tell people what they should and shouldn't like, and change fandom to suit their own personal tastes, their own personal political opinions, whatever. And at that point, it's like, if you're coming in with the sole purpose of wanting to change things, whether it's the fandom or the product or whatever, you're not actually a fan, are you? You're more like a parasite. You're coming in, attaching yourselves to an existing healthy fan base, then draining its resources and eventually killing the host. You know, and we saw this with Star Wars. Star Wars is one of the biggest examples, obviously, because it was one of the biggest pillars of fandom, and now it's just another sci-fi franchise. A lot of people have checked out on Star Wars. A lot of people are checking out on Star Trek. Doctor Who is following. I mean, these things have been around for decades, and look how they're declining. Look at this. Sonic the Hedgehog, though, I'm shocked he's doing this well. And again, I think it's more, I mean, the movie was solid, but I think it's because fandom wants to send a message. Because honestly, Sonic's popularity, the games haven't been that good in the last couple of decades, and his popularity has waned, unfortunately, since the 90s and early 2000s. But this movie is killing it at the box office. Despite a rocky start, Sonic the Hedgehog can't be classified as anything less than a surprising success. Surprise, because the media is like, oh shit, we couldn't kill this one, could we? We couldn't kill this one. You know, they're talking about there's no denying that the successful redesign of the character played a major part in the success of Sonic. No shit, this movie would have been a box office turd. If Sonic looked like this movie would have maybe $20 million opening weekend. People would have been like, God, I couldn't watch that thing throughout the whole movie and believe it was Sonic, and it would have died on the vine. It's hard to imagine the movie's family-friendly nature working well with a frankly terrifying Sonic. Yeah, people wouldn't have taken their kids to go see it. It would have become a meme. You know, and thankfully they got it right. So they said the biggest challenge to Sonic is going to be Onward, coming out March 6th. I'm not excited about Onward. I know we talked about it a little bit in the live stream last night, but it doesn't look like a Pixar movie to me, and the reviews so far haven't been fantastic. It does look like an Illumination or a DreamWorks movie. I'm not that excited about it. As far as Pixar movies go, Soul actually looks like it might be pretty good. That looks like a Pixar movie, but I'm not feeling it with Onward. We were going to go early. They had a preview screening here in Pittsburgh, and we just decided not to go. I'm like, I'm not spending the money to go see this movie. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. But it said it could be on the verge or past the $300 million mark by the time Onward drops in theaters. So this is awesome. After listening to the complaints over the original design, the movie also features a number of Easter eggs. It did. Including a surprise cameo at the end that sets up a sequel. It did. And now it's bringing in all the box office gold rings as a result. Ping, 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 ping. Yes, it is. Again, the biggest message, the biggest takeaway from Sonic the Hedgehog for studios is going to be that if they listen to the fans, okay, if they listen to the fans and the fans feel that they're being respected, they will come, they will support your movie, they will buy your comic book, they will buy your video game. Right? But if you diss them and you tell them they're horrible people, even if they're not, and I'm not going to pretend that there aren't bad actors in fandoms. Like, I mean, fandoms are huge and they include a lot of different people. But we see time and time again that the media takes a handful of bad actors and paints an entire fandom with the same brush. You know, there could literally be 10 people saying mean things on Twitter and you're going to demonize millions of people in a fandom and write garbage articles like this BBC hit piece, garbage articles like the hit pieces in the New York Times, running down gamers. You know, it has to end. It has to end. And you know, frankly, at the end of the day, money talks. And that's what's going to happen. These studios are in debt and money talks. So if they want to keep the fans, they're going to have to keep the fans happy. And that's what we're seeing with this movie. And that's why this movie, I think, this movie and Joker are incredibly important because they are kind of the anti-Rise of Skywalker. We saw what happened with Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, it barely lurched to $1 billion because at that point, it should have been an endgame level event. it should have been a huge $2 billion movie. Last, Skywalker movie, but at that point, all the fan goodwill had been spent. People were pissed off at Star Wars. They weren't supporting it anymore. Their concerns, fell on mostly deaf ears, but even when they tried to backpedal some of the decisions with Rise of Skywalker, it didn't do that well because they couldn't undo the damage. The point is they shouldn't have gone there in the first place, but they did. And I'm going to be honest, I think Marvel Phase 4 is going to be like just a Last Jedi after another Last Jedi for these characters. I think they're going to grind these characters into the ground, thinking stupidly that people will go to any movie with a Marvel logo attached to it, and I don't think that's going to be the case. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up. Sonic's doing well. I'm curious to see where it's going to end up at. We'll talk later. Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.